You are listening to Codovision, where you feel the TV power through audio. I am Mark Codo, aka Codoman, your Codovision host. And we are on episode 7 of Codovision. And for this episode, I'm going to talk about my first mini series. And this one will be from Netflix. This mini series I'm going to talk about, this one's going to be on the Queen's Gambit. Now, The Queen's Gambit is a 2020 American coming-of-age period drama TV miniseries based on the 1983 novel of the same name by Walter Tevis, and the title itself, The Queen's Gambit, refers to a chess opening. The miniseries was written and directed by Scott Frank, who directed all seven episodes. And he also created the show with Alan Scott, who owns the rights to the book. Beginning in the mid 1950s and proceeding into the 1960s, the story follows the life of Beth Harmon, being played by Anya Taylor-Joy, who is a fictional American chess prodigy on her rise to the top of the chess world while struggling with drug and alcohol dependency. Now, as I mentioned, The Queen's Gambit is on Netflix, and Netflix released the show on October 23rd of 2020. After 4 weeks, it had become Netflix's most watched scripted miniseries, making it Netflix's top program in 63 countries. The series received critical acclaim with particular praise for Anya Taylor-Joy's performance, the cinematography, and production values. It also received a positive response from the chess community for its often accurate depictions of high-level chess, and data suggests that it increased public interest in the chess game. Now, with that being said, the show itself won 11 Primetime Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Limited or Anthology Series, becoming the first show on a streaming service to win in that category. The series also won 2 Golden Globes for Best Limited Series or Television Film and Best Actress, Miniseries or Television Film for Anya Taylor-Joy. And of course, she also won the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Female Actor in a miniseries or a television movie. Now, Anya Taylor-Joy is not the only cast member. We also have cast members that includes Moses Ingram, Thomas Brody Sangster, Harry Mulling, Isla Johnston, Bill Camp, Marielle Heller, just to name a few cast members. And then, of course, the whole summary of the show. The Queen's Gambit follows the life of an orphan chess prodigy named Elizabeth Harmon, which is the character that Anya Taylor-Joy plays. And during her quest to become an elite chess player while struggling with emotional problems, drug and alcohol dependency, the title and of course the title of the series refers to a chess opening of the same name, which is basically the Queen's Gambit. And of course, the story itself is set in the mid 1950s and 1960s. And it opens up in the mid 1950s in Lexington, Kentucky, where an 8-year-old Beth, having lost her mother in a car crash, is taken to an orphanage where she is taught chess by the building's custodian, Mr. Scheibo. As was common at the time, the orphanage dispenses daily tranquilizer pills to girls to balance their disposition, which turns into addiction for Beth. She quickly becomes a strong chess player due to her visualization skills. A few years later, Beth is adopted by childless suburban couple Alma and Alston Wheatley as she adjusts to her new home. Beth enters a chess tournament and wins despite having no prior experience in competitive chess. Alma is initially resistant to Beth's interest in chess, but after Beth wins her first tournament, Alma is fully supportive of her adopted daughter's abilities to play chess. And of course, this leads to Beth entering into various chess competitions. And while that's going on, Beth develops friendships with several people, including former Kentucky State Champion Harry Belichick, United States National Champion Benny Watts, and journalist and fellow player D.L. Towns. As Beth rises to the top of the chess world and reaps the financial benefits of her success, her drug and alcohol dependency worsens. With help from her oldest friend Jolene, whom she grew up with in the orphanage, she prepares for a major international chess tournament against the world's best players in Moscow, Russia. And that is basically the overall plot summary of this show. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect from this show. As interesting as it is also good at the same time because of how good the story is. This is a very good story, and it's not just from the world of chess, but also from Beth Harmon's experience from her childhood to her teenage and adult life. There are many ways to describe this show. I believe this show is literally amazing. Like Anya Taylor Joy did a very good job with this show. The rest of the cast members did pretty good. I love the story. The production design is amazing too. And of course, this will definitely segue into some of the main points of the show of why the show is pretty good. My first main point is Anya Taylor Joy. Anya Taylor Joy has been coming a long way. It's not the first time she has acted in film and television. Like she appeared in films such as M. Night Shyamalan's Split and Glass. She also appeared in Last Night in Soho, the New Mutants, the Northmen, and of course she played Princess Peach in the Super Mario Brothers movie. She also had a cameo in Dune Part 2, and her most recent performance that she had was Furiosa in the Mad Max film Furiosa. And of course, with TV, she appeared in Endeavor, Viking Quest, Atlantis, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, and she also hosted Saturday Night Live. She's got a good filmography in her acting career. But for the Queen's Gambit, this is obviously one of her best projects that she worked on in her acting career. I mean, film and TV wise, this is one of her best projects. Anya Taylor Joy's character, Beth Harmon, goes through goes through a ton of crap in her life. Like her life was hell on earth from her childhood up until her young adult life. But what really saves her for the most part is her experience with chess. But when Beth was a little girl, Isla Johnston played the kid version of Beth Harmon. She lost her mom in a car crash, and then she never met her real father. She went into an orphanage. She was there for a while up until her teenage years, and she got adopted by her adopted parents. Even her adopted parents had their fair share of troubles too. Like she lost her adoptive father Alston left, and she is left with her adopted mother Alma, who she had her own fair share of problems too, but she was there every step of the way. And of course, her drug and alcohol problems that Beth is going through. Alma's also going through alcohol problems too. But along the way, her life does get a little better and better when she meets up with some people in and out of the chess world, like Benny Watts and Harry Beltic. Even Alma, Beth's adopted mother, was also there too. And of course, her friend Jolene from the orphanage, and of course another friend that Beth Harmon meets. His name is D.L. Towns, who's also a good friend to Beth. So she's met some friends along the way. Even the competition with chess is also cool too, is also amazing too. How could a show about chess get interesting? Well, you got Anya Taylor Joy coming into the spotlight, going up against different male opponents in the chess world. It's literally amazing too. Like almost she wins a lot of chess tournaments, even though she lost a few tournaments. But at the same time, she was still kept in good spirits. Although, like I said, she's also had her own demons alongside, particularly the drug and alcohol problems as well. But in my opinion, I believe Anya Taylor Joy's best scene has got to be from the finale when she goes back to the orphanage and discovers Mr. Scheibel's photo collection of Beth Harmon and her chess career up until his death. And it's heartbreaking to see that because you come to realize from the very first episode, you're introduced to Beth as a kid, and Isla Johnston plays the young Beth Harmon as a kid, and she meets with Mr. Scheibel, and Mr. Scheibel denied Beth for playing chess multiple times until he until he agreed until he like comes to his senses and says, okay, I'll teach you how to play chess. And for that there on the two bonded a little father daughter relationship a little bit, even though they both have differences, problems, and emotional problems as well. I mean, even at one point where Beth Beth said something that is offensive to Mr. Scheibel. He kicks her out of the basement and locks the door for like a week after Beth resigns her king. Resigning in chess, it acknowledges the defeat and offering your hand to your opponent, meaning that your opponent wins the game. And Beth was so frustrated, like she said something to Mr. Scheibel that got him very offended, and kicks her out of the basement and locks the door for about a week. At the same time, it did get you thinking, oh, she's basically grounded from the basement for a week. Beth as a child, I'll admit, she was a little bratty and angry all the time, if you know what I'm saying. So that probably explains why. That explains why Mr. Scheibel shut the doors of the basement for about a week. Other than that, going back to the finale part, I'm telling you this right now. Even throughout her entire life, Mr. Scheibel was keeping track of her career, and she realizes that Mr. Scheibel has become a better father than her biological and her adoptive father. And though both of her dads really left her, and that's sad. That is so sad. That is so sad. That is so sad. And the only father that Beth remembers was Mr. Scheibel. And what's also heartbreaking too is that she never got to visit him, not even once, prior to her chess competitions. It's so upsetting for Beth. I feel so bad for Beth. And I even feel bad for Mr. Scheibel. Like, imagine him being alone, all alone in the being all alone in the basement like that, and of course realizing that, and of course following her career. Like at the same time, Mr. Scheibel's got to be very proud of Beth. Like he was proud of Beth's career in the chess world. Although at the same time, although it would have been nice for once if Beth returned to the orphanage, maybe mid-series, where she meets up with Mr. Scheibel again, just to tell him about her experience in the chess world. I think it would have worked, but at the same time, this moment where she realizes that this moment where she breaks down, and of course discovering Mr. Scheibel has following her career up until his death, his last remaining days, I believe it still works. But again, it's heartbreaking to see that. It's so heartbreaking to see that. And Anya Taylor Joy's a facial emotion in that scene, and her tearing up is really upsetting. And I give Anya Taylor Joy props for this. And I give Isla Johnston props too for playing a kid version of Beth Harmon. I give both of these actresses credit. Anyway, we're gonna move forward to my next talking point, and this is gonna be a quick one too. This will be the production design. Like I'm telling you, the production design and the atmosphere of the Queen's Gambit is amazing. Like the production design, from the costumes to the visual effects, and of course the elegant interior shots of the fancy hotel lobbies is amazing. I really appreciated the the elegant and authentic style of the 1950s and 60s. Even some of the cars look pretty cool too, and even the costumes are good too. But also, I want to lean into another talking point, and that is the visual style of the chessboard from Beth's perspective. Like this leads into my third point, is the visual style of the chessboard. For those of you who are probably wondering what visual style of the chessboard I'm referring to, well, I'm referring to the visualization itself. Because going to the first episode where Beth is having those tranquilizer pills, the green or blue ones that she takes, like whenever she's sleeping, she visualizes the chessboard up on top of the ceiling, right? Like she sees the chessboard at night from a visual perspective on the ceiling, and I find it to be one of the best visual effects that I have ever seen in this miniseries, because she's visualizing the chess game itself, like visualizing the move and the attack of the chess game. Like she's visualizing everything that she sees, and that really helps prepare herself for her chess competitions, especially with her competition with Mr. Shibo. But also, it really does come from the tranquilizer pill that she takes. It's from the green one too. Like she keeps a boatload. Like in the entire series, she takes green tranquilizer pills just to get her to visualize the chessboard, and it keeps her awake too. And I'm gonna tell you this: I can't imagine staying up all night just to visualize an entire chessboard while going on tranquilizer pills. Like I can't imagine how difficult that would be. We gotta remind ourselves it is a TV show at the same time, but also 1950s and 60s as well. But the way how it's written, I really appreciate how it was written and how it was visualized. Like it is amazing to see an entire visualization of a chessboard from the ceiling, especially from Beth's point of view. And that is literally amazing. So that was basically my third point: Anya Taylor-Joy's performance, the production design, and of course leading into the visualization of the chessboard. Now we go into my fourth point of this, of why I like this show, and that would be the episode titles. Now, a lot of you who are listening to this are probably wondering, episode titles, what are you talking about? Well, what's up with that? Why do you like this show because of the title of the episodes? The reason why I like the episode titles in this show, because the names of the episodes have different layers to it. There are so many layers and meanings to this. Like openings, for example, obviously the introduction to Beth Harmon, who's basically a young orphan girl who lost her mom in a car crash, and of course never got to meet her dad, and is basically at an basically living at an orphanage up until episode 2, titled Exchanges. Exchanges is basically exchanging something, like trading something, but there's literally another meaning to that. Exchanging, like, okay, we're gonna exchange your orphan life to an adoptive family life. In the second episode, Exchanges, Beth is adopted by Alma and Austin Wheatley. Alma is being played by Marielle Heller, and Austin Wheatley is being played by Patrick Kennedy. The two adopted Beth until the very point where Austin leaves both Beth and Alma behind. So then, of course, Double Pawns, which is the third episode, what I really like about it is because this is describing the pawns, in chess, and double pawns in chess is referred to as two pawns of the same color residing on the same file. And this is like referring to going back to the world of chess, especially when it comes to Beth and whoever's going up against Beth in a competition. Who's gonna win the game? Winner takes all. I like how the third episode where she goes up against Benny Watts, who's being played by Thomas Brody Sangster. Fun fact: Thomas Brody Sangster has appeared in a number of films and TV shows as well. He was in Love Actually. He voiced Ferb in the Phineas and Ferb TV show. He was also in Nanny McPhee, and of course he was also in the Maze Runner films as well. He also had a cameo appearance as a First Order trooper in Star Wars Episode 7: The Force Awakens. For the Queen's Gambit, that's another good performance. Both Benny and Beth, I'm gonna tell you this, both of these two probably give some pretty good chemistry in this show, especially from Benny's first appearance. Like, dude, I'm telling you, like when I saw Benny in Double Pawns, I was like, whoa. He looks like an actual cowboy. He wears this black leather jacket a black hat and black boots. Dude, this guy looks like a literal cowboy. And his appearance in this show, I enjoyed his appearance in this show when I first saw him, and that's amazing. But anyway, going back on topic, double pawns, you kind of get the point. But also middle game, obviously middle of the series, but obviously middle of the series, and sometimes the middle of the series can take a downward spiral. And it did go into a downward spiral for Beth because unfortunately Beth lost her adoptive mother, Alma, to hepatitis because of her Alma had drinking problems in this show. And of course Austin, the husband to Alma, he wanted nothing to do with the funeral arrangements, and that's real low right there. Middle of the road, it's real low. Like Beth was on her game, but also going into the next episode, Fork. Of course, that could also be described as a fork in the road, probably, where although the episode 5 of the Queen's Gambit, Fork, the title of that episode, Fork, although fork, like that's like a food utensil to use to pick up food to the mouth or holding it when cutting. But it also means like to the point where something, especially a road or river, divides into two parts. Like that could also mean to give something, right? Like something. Maybe there was something else. Like not, I mean, even in the episode Fork, like like Beth is still competing in still competing in chess, but also at the same time, there was a moment in the episode where Benny challenges Beth to several rounds of speed chess for $5 each. So basically, this is basically hustling money, if you know what I'm saying. So like giving out money. So that's probably what the Fork title means. And then adjournment. This is in the penultimate episode. This is basically when you end something or postpone something to a later time or put something on hold for a while. And this is basically from Beth putting her chess career on hold after losing to Borgoff. Like she put her chess career on hold, abandoning her some of her closest friends, goes back to buy the house, and of course goes into drinking problems as well, putting her life and her career on the line. Her life is on hold, all because she's lost. She lost everything. Remember, she lost both her parents in the opening episode, grew up in an orphanage, and also having drug and alcohol problem, but also at the same time, she lost both her adoptive family as well. She goes on a drug and alcohol binge. And then, of course, everything comes to a complete 180 when Jolene, Beth's friend from the orphanage, comes back in, leading into the finale, Endgame. Endgame for that title, I'm pretty sure the title speaks for itself. It's obviously the end of the series, but also the final game for Beth. And of course, everything coming full circle, realizing that Mr. Scheibel's been following Beth's career. She reunites with her friend Jolene, reunites with her closest friends from the chess world, even reunites with Towns as well. And of course, she was able to let go of her drug and alcohol problems and leading up to compete against Borgoff. And at the same time, she was able to focus without the pills, and of course, she was able to actually win the competition. She was able to win the competition, and that was basically it. That's basically it. That's what I like about these titles too. Some of these titles, the names of these episodes have hidden meanings to it, like openings, exchanges, double pawns, middle game, fork, adjournment, end game. Like those titles have different meanings behind it, and I really, really, really appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Even the writing itself, like the write, I gotta give points to the writing as well. Like the writing for these episodes are spot on. Scott Frank did a good job writing, not only directing but writing these episodes as well. I gotta give him credit for that. Now this next point, this is actually target. This is going to be a quick one, but it's basically the supporting characters in this show. Like the supporting characters were really on Beth's side throughout the entire show. Like some of the characters in the show, like Jolene, Like Moses Ingram plays Jolene. I'm glad she came in during the last 2 episodes to help Beth out. Like like Jolene was literally Beth's closest friend, and I guess you can say, and quite possibly sister if you want to say, because obviously they both met each other in the orphanage and they both bonded together pretty well. Although at the start they did the two of them didn't get along as much, but it wasn't until like later in the first episode and of course second episode the two got along pretty well. Beth and Jolene, like those two were very good, were very close to each other, most notably near the finale. But also, I gotta give shout out to Benny Watts too. Like Benny was like a good friend to Beth as well during her entire chess career. Like Benny was able to train Beth. She lost to Benny during the tournament, but of course, Benny teams up with Beth to train more and more to practice better to go and to win the competition. And Thomas Brody Sangster does a fantastic job playing Benny Watts. He did a fantastic job. And then, of course, the two do have a little bit of a love relationship. I mean, I didn't really care for the romantic relationships as much in the show. I mean, I just focused so much on watching the show, I completely forgot some of the other things, like romantic relationships. But also, of course, Beth also ran into some other people as well. Obviously, Mr. Scheibel. Obviously, I've already talked to him. I already talked about Mr. Scheibel enough, but obviously, Mr. Scheibel, a great character, really great, really great supporting character. Even Alma Wheatley. I want to say Alma was a little weak in this series, but at the same time, I get why she was going through troubled time. But I kind of get it because she was going through rough times with her drinking problems, and of course died due to hepatitis and from her excessive drinking. But also at the same time, Alma Wheatley, Mariel Heller's character, she was there for Beth in every step of the way, especially during her chess tournaments up until her death. And of course, Harry Beltek being played by Harry Melling. Harry Melling was in Harry Potter, and Harry Melling was in Harry Potter. Who played Dudley Dursley in the Harry Potter movies. But Harry Beltic, the character in the show, like he was always checking in on Beth. Even D.L. Towns, being played by Jacob Fortune Lloyd, was there too. Like he was a pretty good too. And D.L. Towns was also a journalist for the final episode of the Queen's Gambit too. He was like the journalist covering the tournament for the Lexington Herald Leader. So that's pretty cool. And it's nice that Towns was able to reconnect with Beth. And of course, Benny, going back to Benny, he assembled some of his other chess buddies to analyze her game with Borgov, and that's amazing too. But other than that, that's about it for the supporting. That's about it for the supporting characters. And of course, the last point, I gotta talk about the chess tournaments that are going on. How can a show titled The Queen's Gambit make chess a lot more interesting? Well, it turns out it did. Everything from the chess tournaments was amazing. Like the way how it's shot, the way how it's visualized, it's amazing. And it keeps you on the edge of your seats to the point where is Beth gonna win? Is Beth gonna lose? Is she gonna lose her king? Is she gonna resign her king? Her game? I don't know. But it's really literally amazing. I love how the chess game is set up. Like the show is like the chess community had a very good response. In an interview with Vanity Fair, woman grandmaster Jennifer Shahade says that the series completely nailed the chess accuracy. And of course, in an article about the miniseries in the Times, British chess champion David Howell felt that the chess scenes were well choreographed and realistic. I'm telling you, that is very true. Now, on a side note, I'm not a chess expert to be honest, but I believe the show itself really speaks for itself. And for the way how it's being depicted and shown, and for the way how it's being depicted, I say what the show did was very accurate. Even other people said it was fantastic too, because some people said that it conveys the emotion of chess really well. I honestly agree with that. And of course, Beth is also being one of the few women in a tournament. And of course, let's be honest, like the chess at the time Now, at the time, we gotta remember, this is a different time period, right? In the 1950s and 1960s, the world of chess has been mostly a male dominated sport, right? At the time. This was at the time when chess was mostly a male dominated sport. And of course, British women's chess champion Jovanka Hauska said, and I quote, I think it's a fantastic TV series that conveys the emotion of chess really well. And of course, she even stated that she even related to Beth being one of the few women in the tournament and noted that sexism was worse at the hobby level, especially for young girls. And of course, international master Dorsa Derek described the show as very accurate, very accurate, and that she was surprised at how actually strong the games are. And I will admit, like, let's be honest, at the time, the chess world, and I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure a lot of sports back in the day, but back in the day, like the 1950s and 60s, even before that as well, a lot of sports were very male dominated at the time. Just to throw that out there, so we just got just remember this is a different time period back then, and seeing Beth going up against different male competitors. But other than that, I say that's about it. Now, final verdict of the show. I enjoyed this show. I really love this miniseries. This was a very good miniseries. This was a very good miniseries to watch. On IMDb, the show was rated an 8.5 out of 10. That's the rating that IMDb gave to the Queen's Gambit. In fact, Rotten Tomatoes gave the Queen's Gambit a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. If I were to rank this show, I give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed the show. I love Anya Taylor-Joy's performance. The supporting cast members did a very good job as well. I really love the production design, the cinematography as well. Is like the production design, the chess sequences are amazing as well. I really enjoyed this, and that's really about it. That's my final verdict on the show. But anyway, that is a wrap on this episode. And for those of you who are listening, if I miss out on anything from this show, do let me know. Please let me know in the comments down below. But anyway, that's a wrap on this episode. But before I close off, what did you guys think of the Queen's Gambit? Did you like this show? Have you seen this show? Did you not like this show? I would love to hear your thoughts. But anyway, that's a wrap on this episode. Thank you all for tuning into Codovision. I am Mark Codo, aka Codoman, your Codovision host. Stay positive and keep on streaming.